The mystery of the love which is divinity is with you all. Thanks be to all that is holy. My name is Dawn Hutchings, and I am privileged to serve as the pastor at Holy Cross, an inclusive community which is progressive in approach and Christlike in action. On this Trinity Sunday, I welcome you to our celebration of mystery. The doctrine of the Trinity is just one of many ways to express the mystery which is beyond our ability to express. Our celebration of mystery also happens to be my last Sunday as the pastor at Holy Cross. The time has come for my retirement, which is cause for celebration, even if saying goodbye is bittersweet. As always, we worship as we live in the presence of the love which is divinity, the one which is beyond the beyond, and beyond that also, our lover, beloved, and breath of love. Thanks be to all that is holy. The power of our cosmic Christ, the love which is divinity, and the joy of the Spirit is with you all.
Thanks be to all that is holy.
us pray. In the midst of the one who is life, we open ourselves to mystery. Let our words and ideas about the nature of our Creator slip away, so that we may know the rhythm of divine breath. Let us open our hearts and minds to the wonders of the cosmos. Let us rejoice in the presence of the one who is love, love beyond measure, now and always. Amen.
Amen.
Please be seated.
Our first reading is taken from Proverbs chapter 8. Yahweh gave birth to me at the beginning, before the first acts of creation. I have been from everlasting, in the beginning, before the world began. I was there when the Almighty created the heavens and set the horizon just above the ocean, set the clouds in the sky, and established the springs of the deep, gave the seas their boundaries, and set their limits at the shoreline. When the foundation of the earth was laid out, I was the skilled artisan standing next to the Almighty. I was God's delight day after day, rejoicing at being in God's presence continually, rejoicing in the whole world and delighting in humankind.
So preaching on Trinity Sunday is not a task that I am going to miss. Over the years, I have made no secret of my distaste for this particular festival of the church year. And I am not alone among preachers when it comes to Trinity Sunday. Trinity is one of those church doctrines that simply defies logic. And the best advice I've ever read or heard about preaching on Trinity Sunday is to book this particular Sunday off or call in sick. In 23 years, I've never called in sick, but I confess to having booked Trinity Sunday off on quite a few occasions. Alas, this is my last Sunday in the parish, and calling in sick just didn't seem appropriate somehow. So rather than fall into the trap of trying to explain the Trinity, let me tell you a story which my Belfast buddy, Pete Rollins, is fond of telling, which captures some of how I feel about the miscommunication which is happening in so many pulpits as today preachers are compelled to express the inexpressible. According to Pete, there was a Jewish community which had sought sanctuary from danger, and that sanctuary was granted on the property of the Roman Catholic Church in Vatican City. The authorities thought that the Jewish community would only be there for a few months, so what's the harm? But after several years had passed, several priests appealed to the Pope, urging him to tell the Jewish community that they would have to leave and find refuge someplace else. Now, the Pope was reluctant to evict his Jewish neighbors. Quite rightly, the Pope insisted that to simply evict isn't very neighborly. So the Pope comes up with a plan. He instructs the priests to summon the chief rabbi for a debate, a theological debate. There's just one problem. They don't speak the same language, and there are no interpreters. But the Pope insists that if he wins the theological debate, the Jewish community will have to leave, and if the chief rabbi wins, they can stay. The tension is building because both the Roman Catholic priests and the Jewish community, they know that this debate is going to have to be conducted without words. A theological debate without words, just signs and symbols. So the Jewish community enters St. Paul's Cathedral with all its ornate signs and symbols. And the Pope is sitting up on the Pope's throne. And the chief rabbi, with the entire Jewish community, walks up to the Pope, who is surrounded by priests and bishops and cardinals, all in their various regalia. And the Pope begins by holding up 3 fingers. And the chief rabbi, without even hesitating, holds up 1 finger. Just 1 finger. And then the Pope starts to wave his fingers around in the air. And the chief rabbi, without even hesitating, points down to the ground. The Pope appears a little on edge, almost like he thinks he's losing the debate. And so the Pope walks over to an ornate altar, and he moves in close on this diamond-encrusted chalice. And he takes a single wafer. He pours wine into this amazingly priceless chalice. And then he holds up the wine and the wafer, the body and the blood. And then he walks over to the chief rabbi so he can get a good look at it. And the rabbi, as if he already knew what was about to happen, reaches into a brown paper bag, takes out an apple, and bites into it. And then the rabbi and the Jewish community, they leave the cathedral. So the priests, the bishops, and the cardinals, they all gather around the Pope and they ask, what happened? Who won the debate? And the Pope says, well, I tell you what, the rabbi won fair and square. That guy had an answer for everything. First, I held up 3 fingers. God is Trinity. It's amazing. I've never been able to hold up 3 fingers. My fingers just don't do that. 3 fingers. God is Trinity. I'm struggling with the Trinity. So he holds up 3 fingers. God is 3, the Trinity. And our rabbi friend, he held up 1 finger. God is 1, unity. So I pointed to the heavens and I said, God is transcendent. God is above and looking down on creation. And my rabbi friend, he takes his 1 finger and he points to the ground, to the earth, and he says, transcendent is immanent. God is in the grit and the grime of the world. So then I brought the wine and the wafer, the body and the blood of Christ, the second Adam, and our Jewish friend, as if he knew what I was going to do, reaches into a bag and pulls out an apple and takes a bite to remind me of the first Adam. At that moment, the Jewish community was gathering around the chief rabbi, asking him to explain what happened, and the rabbi begins by telling his community that it was a nightmare. It was terrible, absolutely terrible. First of all, the Pope said, you've got 3 days to leave. And I'm like, no way, not one of us is going to leave. So then the Pope says, right, we're going to round you all up. And I said, not likely. We're staying grounded right here. We are not budging. And the Jewish community got even closer to the chief rabbi, and they anxiously asked, then what happened? Do we have to leave or not? And the rabbi answered, that's the most frustrating part. Because after all that, we broke for lunch. So as preachers all over the world do their level best to express the inexpressible, I suggest that we move on to my other task for this particular Sunday, and that is for me to bid you farewell. I simply don't have words to express the inexpressible emotions which are careening around inside of me today. Fortunately, the gospel reading assigned for this Trinity Sunday actually, quite literally, comes to us from the section of the gospel from the anonymous gospel storyteller we know as John, which is often called Jesus' farewell discourse. The gospel storyteller goes on for several chapters, only a few lines of which are assigned for today. Listen to the gospel, to the part where Jesus says farewell. I have much more to tell you, but you cannot bear it now. You cannot bear to hear it now. When the Spirit of truth comes, she will guide you into all truth. She won't speak on her own initiative. Rather, she'll speak only what she hears, and she'll announce to you things that are yet to come. In doing this, the Spirit will give glory to me, for she will take what is mine and reveal it to you. Everything that Abba God has belongs to me. This is why I said that the Spirit will take what is mine and reveal it to you. This is the gospel of Christ. Dear ones, I do indeed have so very much more to tell you. And I suspect that you can't bear to hear it now. I know I can't bear to tell it, not now. You see, I'm from Belfast, and in Belfast we have a special way to say goodbye. It's known as the Irish goodbye. The way an Irish goodbye works is we wait until the farewell celebrations get to the part where the drinks are flowing and the stories are being told. And while people's attention is held by the stories, we slip out the back door. That way there's no tears. Unfortunately, a while back, I shared this plan of the Irish goodbye with a colleague whose advice I value. I told her this way I could avoid all the tears, and she reminded me of something that I've said over and over again during my ministry, and that is that some things, some people are worth crying about. So there'll be no Irish goodbye today. So before I fill up and am reduced to a babbling, soggy mess, for you, my dears, are definitely worth crying over. Let me end my ministry with you as I began my ministry with you, by telling you a few wee snippets of a couple of stories. Do me a favor, open up your bulletins and look in a couple of pages, right under where the gospel is printed out, where it says Irish goodbye, followed by a question mark. And for our online friends, the picture everyone's looking at should appear on your screen. Do you see the bunny? That bedraggled creature is my granddaughter Evelyn's bunny. I think Bunny is a boy, but I really don't know because Evie's bunny is simply called Bunny. So Bunny could be a girl. Let's just say Bunny is non-binary. Bunny's pronouns are they, them, their. Now, I hope you can see from this small picture just how worn out Bunny is. Evie is 7 years old, and Bunny has been with her for those 7 years. Bunny arrived in pristine, new condition, full of lovely fur, which my darling Evie loved right off of Bunny. Every last piece of fur has been loved off. Over the years, Bunny's legs and arms have been loved right off their body and sewn right back on again. Bunny's nose has been rubbed off, and their ears are frayed and tattered. That's what 7 years of love has done to Bunny. I can only imagine the state they will be in after 23 years. 23 years and 3 months ago, I was welcomed into this family and given the privilege of serving as your pastor. I arrived before I was ordained, and you saw to it that the church ordained me, and together with all the folks of Holy Cross, some who are here and some who have moved on before me, you have loved me. And more importantly, you have taught me how to love you. I can still remember way back in my seminary days in Christian doctrine class, Eric was there, and I was not understanding the doctrine of the Trinity. I just didn't understand it. I doubt you understand it either, Eric. Dr. Bob did his best, but anyway, eventually, Dr. Bob reassured us wannabe pastors not to sweat the doctrine, because being a pastor was about one thing and one thing only. Our job, in the words of the Reverend Dr. Bob Kelly, is to simply love them. At the time, I was convinced there was more to it than that. I didn't realize that Love was so much more than I knew at that time. You see, Dr. Bob didn't tell us to comfort them, to reassure them, to agree with them, or to simply love them. Bob was talking about the job of a pastor as a different kind of love. Now, I'm a bit dim, because when he said love, I saw the hearts and the flowers from the 60s. And I wasn't sure that I was up to this kind of lovey-dovey part of the job. And it's taken me decades to understand just a small part of what it means to love a congregation. For God is love, and love is divinity. The love which Dr. Bob was talking about is in and of itself inexpressible. It's beyond our comprehension. Being love in a congregation includes the lovey-dovey stuff. It really does. And I'm still learning that part. So I'm grateful that love also includes challenging one another, disturbing one another, pushing one another, leading one another, helping one another, crying with one another, questioning one another, tolerating one another, appreciating one another, embracing one another, having one another's backs. Which brings me back to Evie's bunny. Bunny is bedraggled and worse for wear. So go back to your bulletins and turn a few more pages where you'll find a couple of pictures. You'll see a photograph of well-loved Bunny, and then you'll see another photograph beside that of two bunnies, well-loved Bunny and backup Bunny. Backup Bunny came into Evelyn's life round about the time Bunny became indispensable. A very wise person in Evie's life realized that if something terrible ever happened, and for whatever reason Bunny couldn't be there for Evelyn, then backup Bunny would be there. Now, you can see backup Bunny has managed to do their job while keeping their fur on. But even backup Bunny is a little worn around the edges. Evelyn has so much love to give. So before I stretch these metaphorical bunnies beyond their ability to carry us beyond themselves to the truth, which I'm trying to communicate to you, let me just say that over the years, sometimes I have played the role of Bunny, and you have been my backups. And sometimes I have taken on the role of backup Bunny, and you have been the bunnies. I don't mind confessing that this past 2.5 years of lockdown have left me wondering if my hair's about to fall out, or my arms are going to drop off, or my legs are going to need sewing back on. But all the while, whether it was struggling to make the Evangelical Lutheran Church in Canada fully inclusive of all people, receiving death threats at the parsonage, or being disciplined by the Eastern Synod, or welcoming renowned speakers to Newmarket, or having the audacity to ordain Lionel, or the courage to welcome Tom to team ministry, or all the questions and challenges of progressive theology, or all those endless new lyrics for favorite tunes, or being locked down and separate for more than 2 years. This bedraggled, worn-out old bunny of a pastor has felt your love. You, my dear ones, you have had my back. You've had my back. And I hope over the years, when you've been worn out, you've also felt the love, as I have done my best to have your back. This being love in the world is not comforting, it's not easy, and it isn't safe. But over the years, we have had our moments of sanctuary from the world, here in this place and online. And those moments of sanctuary have nourished, grounded, and sustained us for the challenges of being love in the world. I have so much more to learn about being love. Love in the church, and love beyond the church, love in the world. But as I leave you, I want you to know that you have taught me well. You've loved off some of my rough edges, and even though I may be worn, I'm also excited and hopeful. New chapters are about to unfold for me, for Carol, and for all of you. After a long rest, I hope to get some of my color back, and I may even grow some new fur. There's still so much more that I want to learn about being love. And my hope is that you too will continue to get your color back as we try to figure out what life after lockdown can become. And I hope you too grow some new fur. I suspect colorful things will once again begin to appear from Holy Cross as you discover new ways to be love in the world. I trust our friends online to gain some new color as well. And I look forward to all these new chapters unfolding as we learn new ways to be love. So there will be no Irish goodbye, because, as I will keep saying, some people are worth crying over, and you people are worth crying over. I have no words, I have only love. The love in which we live and move and have our being, the love which will continue to nourish, ground, and sustain us as we continue to find new ways to be love in the world. Now, I can't begin to express the inexpressible gift and gifts of love which you have been to me. So let me end this not-so-Irish goodbye with an Irish blessing, which I have adapted from the words of another Irish friend of mine, Padre Gotuma, whose words of benediction come close to expressing my emotions. The task has ended. Go in pieces. Our concluding faith is being rear-ended, certainties being amended, and some things getting mended that we didn't know was torn. We're unraveling, and we are traveling to a place of new-formed patterns with delusion as a fusion of loss and hope and pain and beauty. So the task is ended. Go in pieces to see and feel your world. Go in pieces, my dear ones. Go to be love in the world, blessed by the mystery which is beyond the beyond, and beyond that also, our lover, beloved, and breath of love. Shalom, dear ones. Shalom. Marnie.
Holy One, it is too easy to think about all the bad news I see on TV or read about in the papers. It is too easy to forget there is so much goodness in the world, so much to be grateful for, so many people being loved for one another. Today, I want to remember beauty, goodness, kindness, and compassion. Thank you for the billions of years of birthing our immense and vast cosmos, the swirling galaxies, trillions of stars, billions of planets, and our own home, Earth. Thank you for the great diversity of landforms, mountains, valleys, lakes, rivers, and oceans. Thank you for the fresh water throughout Earth that provides life for all living creatures and plants. Thank you for all peoples of every race, religion, gender, color, political and cultural belief system. May we understand we are one family in you. Thank you for the compassion of our medical people who worked tirelessly during the height of the global pandemic and continue to work today. Thank you for the paramedics who risk their lives rescuing and caring for the wounded and displaced in many countries enduring the ravages of war. Thank you for the many scientists who continue to research healing medicines for many incurable illnesses, for ways to offset the dire consequences of climate change. Thank you for all those who work for justice, bringing an end to poverty, racism, misogyny, homelessness, and loneliness. We need justice if we hope for true peace in our world. Thank you for the Kenyan man who drives a truck filled with thousands of gallons of water to provide this life-giving liquid to elephants, tigers, monkeys living in desert drought conditions. This list could fill books. We must remember all of these and more, especially when we feel the weight of the suffering earth upon us. But today I especially want to remember our pastor, Don, who has led the community for 23 years. As a recent member, only 4 years here, I have been touched by Dawn's openness to change, her compassion, her integrity, and wonderful sense of humor. We say farewell and Godspeed as Dawn retires and embarks on a new path on her life's journey. She has led us through 2 years of isolation and fears of the pandemic, providing support, online reflections, and deep conversations in our faith chats. She has upheld us in dark times, providing that spark of fire that burns and glows within her. Holy One, we thank you for this gift of Dawn. And we thank you for Carol, who has been Dawn's lifeline, her life partner, and our shining star, showing us how love lives among us. May Dawn and Carol go forward, walking and dancing deeply into mystery. And may we remember to continue on our path with you, Holy One, as we become love in the world. Amen.
Wisdom Keeper, you left your disciples with words of love and comfort, knowing that they would miss you deeply. You promised them the spiritual wisdom to continue proclaiming your kingdom. And 2,000 years later, we too strive to discern and follow your way. As we say goodbye to Dawn, we give thanks for her ministry here at Holy Cross, a ministry which has led us deeper into the mystery of your love, a ministry which has constantly challenged our sense of justice and encouraged us to work for the same. We are grateful for our online community who strengthen, challenge, and support us in exploring what it means to live into Jesus' message of love. Holy One, we know that your Spirit unites us in ways beyond our understanding. We are all held in your love and hold each other in love. Watch over Dawn and Carol as they travel this summer. Bring them joy and peace in their relationship, rest and recreation in retirement. May they know that they are always held in our hearts and that we treasure the memories of times together. Our journey continues, upheld by your spirit of love, the energy of your presence, and this community of faith. For that we give thanks. Amen.